Hello everyone and welcome to the Let's Play Tomb Raider Underworld extras and well, extra videos or video depending on how long this takes, but there aren't too many extras with this game. But enough about that. First off, my deepest apologies for overlooking this Let's Play. I've been concentrating too much on my Let's Plays for Hill and Lugia, and that's what happens if you wait around too long. There we go. So yeah, the first thing that appears right here is Treasure Hunt that I already explained. Well, I think I talked a bit about Treasure Hunt at the end of the credits, which I haven't uploaded yet because I decided for some reason to upload those as the final video at the total. Because really, who watches the credits in a Let's Play? You just skip to the end of the video to see if there's something at the end. So yeah, I might make that something, or I might not. I think I won't, because I've been having that video on my in my folder for over a month or so. And there we go again. Come on. Yeah, let's finally get to the extras here. We've got environment concept art, character concept art, gear concepts, storyboards, and trailers and credits. Yeah, not too much. Yeah, this will probably be all in one video. Still all the areas and concepts. Oh, that's one of the hammer pendulums. My nasty things. The Vulcan, Spiral, Valhalla, Netless Prison. There's a lot of these. Yeah, actually these are the only things I know of that with the extras. I know there I think there is a new 1 or 2 costumes that you can unlock, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, Zip, Winston, Amanda, Alistair. Still think it was kind of bullshit that they killed him off. And the doppelganger, which has a lot lighter hair here. Earlier doppelgangers, the Mercs, Merc Diver, Poacher, Netless model. I think it looks pretty different from our original model, I think, going back to memory. Amelia, Laura's mother. Yeah, it's kind of been a bit of a dead end of a story. Literally. Catstrol. Okay, I thought those were dogs always. Kraken. The only real boss fight, if you were to call it that. And then, yeah, that's a very loose description. Mayan trolls, these didn't make it to the game. Nagas, giant lizards, panther, spiders. Let's go past those quickly. And the classical tigers, even though they only made about 2 or 3 appearances. Viking trolls, these are called the warrior trolls. Still, these didn't really truly make it to the final game because they don't have their swords and such. No chains. Just a different version of the troll they are. Made it to the game. The Yeti trolls. Not much of a big deal with these guys since, well, you face them once with your guns and then you get Mjolnir and then you just kick their asses. Still interesting. Early Lara concepts. Bathing suits. Casual flying wetsuits. Heavy jungle. Heavy snow. Jungle concepts, jungle pants. This is the classic, but it's with the longer version. Outfit suite. Yeah, that was it. Okay, the gear concepts, early gauntlet, grapple gun, the holster concepts, the motorcycle, belt, claw, gauntlet, spear gun, Mjolnir, Tranquilizer gun, never used that. I don't think it's that useful, only against living things. And then it just knocks them out, I think, after a while. And that's it. Okay. Or am I lacking somewhere? No, that's all. The storyboards you can unlock by completing the game on the highest difficulty setting, Master Survivalist, but why you would want to do that, I don't know. And then you've got the trailers and credits, which is, well, I've shown these throughout the project. These two at the beginning, and the credits will be the next video that gets uploaded. And yeah, that's the extras. No craft manor, since they blew it the fuck up. Yeah, that's also a bit disappointing. If I have to say something, I think this game is probably my least favorite of all of the modern Tomb Raider trilogy. Let's show Treasure Hunt. Treasure Hunt will just drop you off at the last level you were. I was back here for one artifact I missed, which I showed at the end of the previous, well, at the end of the last Treasures video. I completely overlooked it, missed it in my notes, and thus had to go all the way back, finish the game. I had to finish the game and then go back in Treasure Hunt mode, because I couldn't go back past the dry section because, well, blow out ditches or air tanks. And yeah, here is near it. Oh no, this is at the entrance. It just drops you off at the last checkpoint you were. If you completed the game and started up, you start back right at the Mediterranean Sea. You can go to tab and you have this new little thing here, the revisit location, and you can choose anywhere to go. And there is one more thing that I want to show that I've overlooked. The journal entries. She doesn't read those, but I will. Well, yeah, I'll read them out loud. My father died in a tragic accident while searching for Avalon, the mythical resting place of King Arthur. I never shared his belief that it had played any role in my mother's disappearance, but recent events, from legend, made me suspect otherwise. Professor Eddington knew the coordinates father intended to investigate next, but did not know how he had determined them, or if he had confirmed the existence of a ruin at the location, and that's up to me. Bit of a plot hole there, but one I can get slip. Yeah, that's always the thing. You always find where they are, where certain ruins are, but never how. Well, at least with Valhalla, we did find them from the map. From the map Laura's father had left her. Niflheim, World of Mist, one of the 9 worlds of Norse mythology, linked by Bressel the World Tree. While it seems clear that Niflheim is an underworld metaphor, original sources are contradictory as to whether it is distinct from Helheim, where those who did not die gloriously in battle go after death. Kraken are monstrous large creatures in mythology, thought to be based on sightings of giant squid, not to be confused with the sea serpents in Nordic tradition. Though both are blamed for the disappearances of ships of all sizes. This beast clearly is a recent addition to this ruin and subsequently grew too large to leave again. Thor is the god of thunder in Norse mythology and is the most known for his mighty weapon Mjolnir, variously described as a battle axe, a mace, or a warhammer, though most commonly depicted as the latter. Among other powers, it could supposedly channel lightning against Thor's foes, just as the legend of Excalibur was a myth built up around an ancient artifact of great power. The myth of Thor's hammer might be a distorted description of a real ancient weapon. It was said that Thor could only wield Mjolnir by wearing a special pair of iron gauntlets. The gauntlet I discovered in Niflheim could very well be the source of this myth. Most of the gauntlet itself crumbled to the touch, but the carved knot of stone and metal in its center was undamaged by age. It extended metal tendrils and conformed to the dimensions of my hand perfectly. Clearly this is the ancient source of power of the artifact, and the rest of the gauntlet was added separate later. Amanda has never forgiven me for believing she was dead and leaving her buried in the Peruvian tomb of the last queen of Tiwanaku. When I found out she had survived and later escaped, I wondered if I could forgive myself. But our clash over the search of King Arthur's sword Excalibur dulled my guilt, and knowing that Amanda played a role in what happened to my mother has squished that feeling entirely. The only reason I let her live was to someday learn more of what she knows, but if her aim is to kill me outright, I might have to change that strategy. Natla was the immortal queen of Atlantis and more recently CEO of Natla Technologies. Somehow she lost her connection with the powerful artifacts of her reign millennia ago, and recently began devoting her knowledge and intellect towards recovering it all from the ancient sites around the world. Her aim is to initiate what she calls the Seventh Age, of which I know nothing other than that it would be a very bad turn for humanity. I buried her on a remote island, but apparently Mana has dug her out and is keeping her prisoner as her own personal encyclopedia Atlantica. I hope Amanda understands that she's sitting on a time bomb, and that everything Natla tells her is filtered by her own agenda. Another little plot hole. How did Amanda know about Natla? Yeah, because as far as I know, Laura never shared any information about Natla with other than Alistair, Zip, and Winston. And as far as we know, they had they had no interaction at all with Amanda. So yet another plot point, just to bring those two together. And again, I think those two were wasted together. This game might have been a lot better if it was a three-way fight. Amanda versus Natla versus Laura. Or that those two are trying to fight over something and Laura is caught in the middle. Or they're both trying to kill Laura and are just competing to see who gets to kill her first. Just throwing some things out there. I don't know the extent to which my father worked with Natla or how much truth there is in what she said, but she acts only out of self-interest. So any help or information she provides is because she wants the same thing I want. I can therefore assume that whether my father explored this side or not, there is likely something here that will get me close to Avalon. Bhagavati is the capital of Patala, the seventh netherworld in Hindu tradition. So I was right about it being Hindu, and not Indian or something or whatever I thought it was. It is populated by Naga, which is the most notorious descriptions are large snake people. The architectural style of this ruin has never been found this far to the southwest before, and is older than any other site I'm familiar with, which changes our notions of how these Hindu religions move through Asia. Naga are the snake people of Patala who, among other things, were keepers of Amrita, an elixir that bestowed eternal life. The primeval reptiles around this ruin possibly inspired the myth of the Naga, or just as likely contributed to existing Hindu tradition due to their unusual appearance. Should have brought something to drink with me. The Hindu ruins are ancient, but the Niflheim site is far older still, old enough to have been above sea level at the tail end of the last ice age. These ruins here are stylistically identical and of comparable age. The Hindu built on top of the far older ruins below, creating this stark contrast of architectural style and weathering. This explains why the Arctic Sea site was underwater and how it could have been built, because, well, as it said, the water level was lower around the Ice Age, but humans weren't really around that time then, so it must have been some sort of pre-human civilization that built everything. And I wouldn't really call Natla and the Atlanteans humans, more humanoid, as those always seem to pop up in fiction, be it fantasy or science fiction. Of all the gods in human mythology, Thor was among the strongest. The stories of his strength stem from truth, however, as the power of his gauntlet now reveals. The power in the gauntlet stone somehow activates specially prepared objects and renders them virtually weightless. Doubtless this would have appeared as extraordinary strength to anyone unaware of the ancient artifact being employed. Odin is the god of wisdom in Norse mythology, and a father to Thor. In one account, he gained his wisdom by sacrificing his eye to the wellspring beneath Yggdrasil, the world tree. Therefore he foresaw Ragnarok, the final battle that would destroy the world and the gods themselves, and also that even with his knowledge he would be unable to stop it. On the wall is written, "My son, your treasures here and far are protected by the dead. This gauntlet's twin, Megingjord, and the mighty Mjolnir to keep Jormungandr subdued." Ugh. Whether the historical Odin was the literal father of Thor is not certain, but the two figures were related in some manner. Thor's hammer, belt, and gauntlets were apparently hidden throughout the world to restrain the Midgard serpent Jormungandr. What this means exactly and the nature of the Midgard serpent are unknown. Perhaps the reference to how the artifacts are protected by the dead is a clue. Throughout the game I didn't know that these would pop up in the PDA. So that's why I mostly ignored them. I thought they were sort of like checkpoints. Sorry about that. In Bhagavati, his father inscribed a message that read, "Netla, I see your goal and am your puppet no longer." Whatever partnership they had dissolved because of what he found here, and it must have been of major significance, because I have never known father to desecrate a site like that. But he left me a clue that I believe tells me where he concealed the artifacts and information that he recovered from Thailand. These giant spiders must have come from Thailand along with everything that father brought back from Bhagavati. Yeah, nice little present for home. Father believed that the myth of the Midgard serpent reveals that Avalon holds the answer to my mother's fate, but also a terrible weapon that Nadla must never find. It is a testament to his determination that he kept such dangerous secret intact here in the hope that I alone would find him in the event of his death. As much as I want to discover what happened to my mother in Nepal all those years ago, I may have to reconsider whether it's worth the risk of also unleashing this destructive force. The term thrall referred to a kind of slave to the Norse. The god Thor traveled in a companion of two thralls, Bjolfi and Roskva. And also with him were two goats, Tengrisnir and Tangrostr, which pulled his chariot. These goats were special in that Thor could cook and eat them each meal and restore them the next morning with a single touch as long as he had not damaged their skeletons. Father apparently was thinking of this when he named these animated tiger skeletons. By what means they are kept animate, I don't know, but I think I have seen something of what Odin meant by the artifacts of Thor being protected by the dead. The Wraith Stone, which looks similar to the one from Legend, but still doesn't, and it definitely doesn't have the same effects. Another plot hole, as I've stated earlier in the Let's Play. Sorry about just hammering on these plot holes again and again. It just pisses me off. Years ago, when Amanda and I were excavating the tomb of the lost queen of Tinawaku at the dig site outside of Paradiso, Peru, we were attacked by an unknown force that manifested as a smoky energy being. Amanda found the stone that was its source and learned to use it. When she turned it against me in Bolivia, I defeated them and took the stone. It seems that Amanda's sole purpose for this attack on my house was to recover this Wraith Stone. Now that I think about it, the Wraith has a bit of a similarity to the Smoke Monster of Lost, as far as I know. And I know, well, that's the only thing I know about it. It's smoke and some sort of monster. My previous encounter with Nadla ended on a lost island containing a myriad of ancient devices, one of which was capable of creating an automaton of sorts that duplicated both my body and abilities, though it was skinless, having no need for any, and merely parroted my actions, a tactic which I used against it to destroy it. It seems that Amanda, with Nadla's help, has created another doppelganger of me, this time with skin and a mind of its own. If it can truly do anything I can do, and more, it will be more than my match should it ever be sent to kill me. Again, it would have been an extremely good boss fight if there were any boss fights in this game. Really disappointed that Amanda got the kill on that thing. The location of Thor's belt in Central America was easiest to pinpoint precisely on Odin's map. I need it before I can use Thor's hammer anyway, so it's convenient to recover it first while Zip works on refining the precise location of Thor's hammer. Zip doesn't understand how I can continue the search after Alistair's murder, but I'm convinced this path also leads straight to those responsible. And if Thor's hammer can indeed kill even the gods, then perhaps I will finally have the power to end Natla's immortal reign permanently. If I had known all about these journal entries, I would have edited them into the Let's Play somewhere on the screen whenever we got a new one, or at least done something with it. This area is the most rural and lawless region of Mexico, remote enough that some of its farmers do not even speak Spanish, but Mayan. Far enough away that heavily armed men have moved in to poach the protected black panthers, or more precisely, melangistic jaguars. The poachers have dug pit traps and must drive panthers here from throughout the surrounding areas, unaware that the scattered ancient ruins here are only a hint of what lies beneath. The rules of the game played on these ancient ball courts are lost to history, but it's believed that it was played frequently and sometimes for high stakes, as the losing team was sacrificed to the gods. It is of particular interest to me, as it was believed that the Mayan underworld of Xibalba was underneath a ball court. The Maya had many calendars for various purposes. The solar calendar consisted of 18 months of 12 days each, which left 5 extra days to fill out this 365-day tropical year. Names of these months varied greatly over time and distance, but the 5 extra days were known as the unnamed days. These days were feared because it was believed that the gates to the underworld would open during this time. Xibalba, place of fear. It's unclear whether Xibalba was thought to be a supernatural afterlife or a city of people who worship death, commonly believed to have been in Guatemala. No, whatever. It appeared Xibalba is farther to the northwest than previously thought. If a pattern of Taurus artifacts giving rise to local underworld myths holds, then I might find things akin to the fall tigers my father brought back in Bogavati, Thailand, which were the falls, I think. We counted the falls in southern and Mexico for the first time. The lords of Xibalba reportedly enjoyed using mannequins to humiliate visitors before sending them into deadly trap rooms. These team tests supposedly were to test the worth of visitors, but were really intended to kill them outright as entertainment. Just like I saw in Thailand, this is another example of an old culture building over a more ancient one. This architecture the Maya built upon is the same style and age as that I found in Niflheim and also beneath Bogavati, Thailand. Perhaps the Hindu put Shiva and Kali over the ruins there to seal them up, possibly to protect themselves from the lower ruins as they were infested with tiger trolls like father brought home. Norse myth holds that the world will end in the epic battle of Ragnarok, which will result in the death of the gods and monsters and the destruction of civilization. Figuring prominently in this eschatological myth is Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent, which is so large that it encircles the entire world on the bottom of the ocean. During Ragnarok, the Midgard serpent rises up, causing floods and spewing its poison into the air. Thor will use Mjolnir to kill Jormungandr, but will also die from the serpent's venom. Mayan trolls, they just looked more, they just looked human, not Mayan, whatever. What happened to the tigers in Thailand happened here as well, to jaguars and ancient Mayan warriors. Anything falling into that toxic glowing liquid dies, but continues to remain animate with only one purpose, to kill trespassers and throw them into the pool, where they will join the guardian ranks. Later civilizations probably sealed them up, not only to protect themselves from the falls below, but to stop the curious from going down and adding to the ranks of the animated dead protecting the artifacts. In Norse myth, Aether was an elixir that bestowed eternal life to the gods, but paradoxically was a poison that came from serpents like the Midgard serpent. This is similar to the Hindu concept of Amrita or ambrosia to the Greeks. Only the Norse came closer to the literal truth that the substance was indeed a poison and in fact only gave the appearance of eternal life in the animation of corpses. At some point there must have been a similar pool of this substance in Bogavati, Thailand to create the tiger's falls, and it either decayed in the past or my father dispersed it somehow. The myth held that only with the additional strength bestowed upon Thor by the enchanted belt Meginggjord could he wield the weapon Mjolnir. Now I see that the belt, also ornately augmented by later users, is a source of power for the gauntlets. They channel the belt's power to those large special objects too large to move unless so equipped. Each of the two gauntlets I found must have contained a small amount of residual energy power in them that quickly drained without the belt to replenish them. I believe I have a good idea of how Thor's hammer might work when I find it. Having found Thor's belt and gauntlet in parts of the world less far from civilization, I feel confident that I will find Thor's hammer here undisturbed. Perhaps this site being so remote will also mean no undead guardians lurking within to complicate my search. Yeah, that turned out wrong. Really should have gotten a drink. What isn't clear is whether these poor souls were Vikings who stumbled upon this place, fell victim to its aether, and became souls, or whether these undead guardians are far more ancient warriors whose appearance later influenced the Nordic styles that came after. Either way, they are capable of fighting fiercely and ceaselessly, and were perhaps the origin of the stories of berserker warriors. Yeah, I have to agree with that. Valhalla, Hall of the Slain. The Valkyries escorted the souls of warriors who died gloriously to this great hall of Odin. Each day they would slaughter each other in battle scrimmages to prepare for the final battle of Ragnarok, only to be restored and repeat the exercise again the next day. This site represents the clearest connection between the myth as we understand it and the reality of these animated corpses put here to protect the artifact the Norse came to call Mjolnir. Yeah. Valgrind, the Sacred Gate. Protecting Valhalla is a great gate of size and cunning, such that few knew how it could be opened. Now I see that it's through both the implicit application and of understanding and the strength of Thor bestowed by his artifacts. Valkyries, meaning choosers of the slain, were the minor deities who chose which fallen warriors were worthy enough to be escorted to Valhalla. Often depicted as women with winged helmets or as riding horses, a more literal truth comes from the fact that the Old Norse word for wolf translates as Valkyrie horse. It is believed that Valkyries and their mounts are metaphors for the ravens and wolves to descend upon the dead after a battle and choose among them. While it's difficult to identify the corpse of a yeti after it has lost its hair, it's clearly what these creatures once were. Whether they were capable of equipping themselves with armor in the distant past or used as beasts of burden or a warrior class, they would have been formidable creatures that could be the giants that populated all Norse mythology. Yetis. I don't clearly remember, but I haven't really played all the Tomb Raider games. But I think in one of the games you encounter Yeti and have to fight them. But I'm not sure. Mjolnir was the supreme... Okay, I'm pausing here for a second. Be back with a drink. Okay, I'm back. Got my drink. Lemonade, pop, soda, whichever you call it, from wherever you are. Let's continue. Mjolnir was a supremely powerful weapon used by Thor, mainly to fight giants and then ultimately to destroy the Midgard serpent in the Battle of Ragnarok. Only functional when one is equipped with the belts and gauntlets, these artifacts are far more ancient than the mythology that immortalized them and the men who subsequently hid them throughout the world. Norse myth focused solely on Mjolnir's distant role in killing Jormungandr, but it conveniently overlooked the fact that Mjolnir is also the only means by which the Midgard serpent can be released in the first place. Which is ironic. Inscribed in stone around the doorway leading to Thor's hammer, Odin wrote, "Thor, greatest of my sons and the greatest weapon on earth, are at last reunited. Upon my return, through rituals old and the power of Mjolnir, together we will open the seals of Helheim and fulfill our destinies." I don't like the sound of old rituals or of fulfilling destinies given how the ultimate destiny of the Norse is destruction at the Battle of Ragnarok, but at least I have the power of Mjolnir and the means to extract the information I want from Nedla. The coordinates Nedla gave me were in the Arctic Sea northeast of Greenland. I don't know how she intends to get to Helheim, but but my plan is to blow a hole in the sea ice and dive straight down. If I don't get the answers I've been looking for, there will be hell to pay. Helheim, world of hell. Here the goddess Hel, depicted as a woman on one side and a corpse on the other, presided over all souls that did not go to Valhalla after death. Judging by the ruined road and drawbridge, this site must be even more ancient than Niflheim to have been above sea level at some point. The top is heavily encased in permanent sea ice, so there may have been another drier way to get inside from somewhere above to had Nedla given more precise coordinates, but I think I'd rather go in through the front door. Okay, that's still doesn't really explain. That gives a possible reason as to how Amanda and Nedla got it in, but still, I think someone would have found that at some point or another. So yeah, not as much of a plot hole, but still. Yggdrasil, the world tree and binding element of all 9 worlds of the Norse universe. Supposedly Helheim was situated under the roots of Yggdrasil. There is another myth that the great serpent Njord, something like that, gnaws at the roots of Yggdrasil. Possibly this is another manifestation of the Midgard serpent, which supports the theory that this side houses something monstrously world-threatening. The Norns are female deities who governed the fate of men, and in various cultures, including Greek, were often represented as 3 women, young, middle-aged, and old, who represented the past, present, and future. Somehow indistinguishable from Valkyries, they also resided beneath the roots of Yggdrasil and wove tapestries of existence leading all the way to the end of the world. Those sort of had a there were characters in the Disney film Hercules that were like that, but that was Greek, of course. Jormungandr is actually a metaphor describing the mid-oceanic regions where all the continental plates of the world meet, thus circling the Earth on the sea floor. The northernmost point of the mid-Atlantic range is the oldest and weakest geological point on Earth, and the ancients built a powerful device poised to attack the planet's Achilles heel, to trigger worldwide volcanic eruptions which would rise up and fill the air with poison. Ragnarok concludes with the world consumed by fire caused by giants in the myth, but by volcanic eruption. I think there's a word missing there. Ragnarok concludes with the world consumed by fire not caused by giants in the myth, but by volcanic eruptions in reality. Why such a device would be built might be forever beyond our ability to know. There's no reason they should have built that in the first place, unless they were somehow planning on destroying the planet, but that must have mean that they were some sort of aliens and were capable of moving to other planets. But seeing as they either died or entirely left the planet, I think they just all died. In the end, my father was right, and so was I. The thought of Mother suddenly appearing in that cold ruin at the top of the world is tragic beyond words. Whether she then fell into the ether or was cast in by the falls, I hope it came quickly. I wish that both Mother and Father had better fates than those I discovered, but at least I learned the truth and can finally close this book and move on to another. And that's the final one. And so yeah, this has been probably the extra video, so sorry about that. Yes, this has been Let's Play Tomb Raider Underworld. Next video is the credits, which will be the true end of the project, but I won't be talking over that, so I'm saying it here. Thank you all for watching this Let's Play. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you all on the Healing Lugia channel, my Healing Lugia channel, because this will probably be the last 2 videos I upload to Mark and Anyone, except for some trailer videos for my Healing Lugia Let's Plays. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching and see you next time.